Hi everyone, welcome to my review of John Carpenter's Christine from 1983. Yes, we are back once again because I want a horror film on the channel. This time around, Christine, a Stephen King adaptation, and of course a John Carpenter film that's really considered more of a cult classic than anything. But yeah, really look forward to discussing this film today. And first of all, there will be a spoiler warning on this discussion. If you haven't seen this film, I simply recommend seeing this first and then come back to this video, and we can go from there. We can talk about this in the comments and all things horror, and to celebrate the Halloween season, and of course John Carpenter films. So yes, with all that said, let's discuss my thoughts on this film and what a film it is. This is a film that I saw, when I was a kid for the first time, and I was just kind of blown away by this. And I think rewatching it in 2020 for the first time, seeing it again, just it all came back to me, and I realised how much I love this film, and seeing it again, for the Halloween period, and it'd been a few years, obviously, I wanted to see this again. It's just a film that always reminds me of just how much, I get invested in this film, and how charming it is, nostalgic it is, but also, a very tragic film. And I just personally think this is one of the best, kind of explorations, of the theme of obsession, in cinema at times, and, I think just the way in which Arnie Cunningham, of course, played by Keith Gordon, amazingly in this film, I think the way in which Arnie kind of becomes obsessed with this car, of course, Christine, this Plymouth Fury 58 model, and, becomes obsessed with this, and the car Christine is also a character, so it's not just, an object where he's become obsessed with, and he goes kind of insane in that sense. Christine also has a personality of its own, and is kind of jealous at times, and kind of tries to get back at those who wrong Arnie. You could say the villain of the film is actually Christine, but it's really quite shocking at times, stuff that Arnie says and does throughout the film, and just takes over him. But it's really complex in that sense. You've got these two, Christine and Arnie, as kind of separate characters, but kind of one of the same in the sense as well. Especially in the end, they're kind of fused together, if you will, and the car Christine has obviously been doing the killings at first, on Arnie's behalf without him, kind of knowing, but then Arnie does kind of, in the end, as we know in the final act, in the final scenes, he's in the car, kind of about to kill, his friends, and, it's really shocking this, but, I think the way it kind of gradually unfolds, this film, and, I think also at the same time, just the relatable kind of, young man, Arnie, and the way in which, he's getting bullied at school and all this kind of stuff, not listened to by his parents, it's just all these things that make up such a great character, protagonist, very unconventional one as well. Kind of, it's not, this character of Arnie, as a protagonist, is not, necessarily always being likable in the film, and that's great because it's kind of more complex, and we do at first, I sympathise with Arnie, and then when he kind of descends into this kind of madness and obsession takes over him and all this kind of stuff, I do feel more sympathetic because I knew, we kind of know what he was like before, he met Christine in that sense, and I love the way in which as well we have just him constantly kind of referring to Christine as, an actual person throughout the film, and he really has, kind of, he falls in love really with this car, so much, and becomes completely obsessed, and obviously Christine as well, gets jealous of Arnie and, his friends and stuff when they're with him, so it's really just, it could have been this kind of silly film, but the way this is directed, and the way, of course, it's written, being a Stephen King novel, and just all this kind of stuff, the way it's acted, I think the way it's scored as well, just all combines to make this, stunning film. Of course, with John Stockwell playing Dennis, and you could say this is the first character really that we're introduced to, and we get to know a little bit, and then of course Arnie comes into it, so it's quite an interesting way in which the film opens up. We have kind of shifts, you could say, where we kind of focus on Dennis a bit more, and then go back to Arnie when he's been out of the film for a bit, and it's a really just a very kind of natural way in which the narrative kind of bobs and weaves, you could say, and goes around, and I think the way it comes together in the end, it's just so stunning, and it's just so tragic, this film, that it's just so felt. I loved these characters, and just Harry Dean Stanton in this film as well as stand out, and as the detective, and it's just loads of different supporting characters in this. Robert's Blossom as well as the guy who kind of wants to get rid of this car, and he says a bit of backstory there, kind of what happened before, at one point in the film, but at first it's this kind of sense of wonder to this, and the mystery. And I just love that shot as well. We first see Christine, and kind of really kind of even just seeing that shot when it's just Christine's first introduced. They're in the car and going by, and you just see the camera focusing through the grass and all this, and the trees there. I think it's just so masterfully done that, and Christine really is already in that one shot, this presence, and no one's interacted at this point. Our main character's with Christine. We do know, of course, from the prologue what Christine can do. Seeing the killing, of course, in the 50s, which is a great scene. But yeah, just I think even then, the fact that they've not really interacted with Christine and stuff. We've got this presence, we've got this kind of menacing, kind of atmosphere here, and just the way in which the sense of wonder is kind of portrayed there, and the curiosity as well of Arnie, and the way in which when he first sees this car, he's kind of instantly drawn to this, and I think it all unfolds from there in such a great way. I think masterfully done, this film, with a gradual, kind of patient build up to the narrative. All the characters are given, kind of development, even supporting characters, and we have this bully as well, who constantly just kind of, at first is on Arnie's case, and he's obviously expelled of the school with the whole kind of knife incident there, and then later on in the film, the way in which all the characters, even this character like the bully, kind of comes back into it, and plays a role in the narrative, in the actual plot here, I think is so well done, and it's just the way high school life is portrayed, and sense of bullying as well in this film, and just Arnie not being listened to by his parents, and all this kind of stuff. It's just, there's a lot of things going on here, but I think the way in which John Carpenter directed this film, I think was absolutely stunning, and for me, seeing it again, it's kind of confirmed, how much I love it, and also I personally feel this is one of the very, very best John Carpenter films. It's just really, I won't say where it is on my ranking, but it's right up there, and I think it's better than a lot of his films that are more kind of talked about. I think it's really considered more of a cult classic, and obviously it's elevated by the fact that it's a Stephen King adaptation. More people do see it for that, but I think regardless of all that, it did do well. It was fairly well received. It done, quite well at the box office. But this is more of a cult classic, and I personally think this is just a cut above most of John Carpenter films that I've seen, and just of the 80s, which is one of my favourite, if not my absolute kind of favourite kind of decade in cinema. I think this is one of the great films of that decade. Just another classic, charming 80s with the magic, the sense of wonder, all the way this is shot. It's just absolutely stunning, the visuals to this. The score as well by John Carpenter himself and Alan Howarth, is something else, and it gives this atmosphere, the sense of dread at times, but also this kind of pulpy, upbeat feeling, and this charming kind of 80s feel that it has with the high school stuff, and it's a fun score at times, but it is very, very involving in the way it's done, and I think the songs as well, when the 50s songs in particular, that are kind of used to evoke this time period of when Christine was first kind of manufactured, and as well, just giving Christine more of a character. When different moments, songs play in this film, when Christine is doing stuff and trying to, in a sense, communicate with Arnie, and even when Lee is in the car, and we've got these different moments. A classic moment when Arnie and Lee are in the car, and Christine kind of takes over there, and the songs that are played at times, she gets frustrated with at times in this film, and it does lead to at one point Lee and Dennis teaming up in this film to kind of try to destroy Christine, and in a sense originally kind of bring back Arnie, but obviously it all goes wrong, and in the end the tragedy is that Arnie does die, and we have Lee and Dennis they did stop Christine, but they couldn't save Arnie in that sense. Alexandra Elizabeth Paul plays Lee in this film, and she's really good in this film, and I really just loved this trio of characters at times, and I think that the three of them, and how complex this relationship is, this dynamic, I thought was so well done, and just as I say, the soundtrack is really key here. It just makes this at times, I think it's like the best of John Carpenter films, where it's just laser beam, hooked in with the visuals, with the music, and just the way this is edited, it's just absolutely stunning, and there's moments where we just have shots, point of view shots of Christine, the car, and just kind of driving, and it really, Christine as a character in this film is so well done, and kind of stress that enough, even though it's more about how Arnie is taken over. Christine being a character, it's just the way this is brought to the screen is so genius, and I was really blown away by this film again, seeing this, the way that Christine was handled, and different moments we just see a shot of Christine so well done, and I think through, as I say, the songs that are played, in this film, and just the way in which we have very, very subtle edits, at times back to Christine, and just the camera angles and all this, it's just so well done. The atmosphere and the sense of dread, and even the comedy to the film as well. Though at times we have a bit of comedy involved, throughout, and with this with this car of Christine, and I think the interaction between Arnie and Christine, is not taken too seriously in this film, and it is more of a, at times it's a funny film, and it kind of grounds it even more. It's so well done, this, and I think Keith Gordon in this film gives a masterful performance. Someone who descends really into madness through this, theme of obsession as well. And it's really fascinating how this is done, because we have at first, this character who is not the most confident of characters, and he's kind of pushed around. He's walked all over at times by different characters in his life. But then when he does gain confidence, it's through the kind of wrong reasons, and it's through this kind of obsession and how Christine takes over him, and he just kind of disowns everyone, and the way in which he descends into this kind of this character really that is at times someone who's the villain of the film, although it really is more Christine. It's very fascinating because someone who I rooted for and I wanted to kind of see make it out, but the first time seeing it, I was quite shocked, seeing that Arnie did not kind of make it out in the end, and seeing it again every time. It's just one that is so kind of inevitable, really, and he just loses his way. His friends are not able to kind of bring him back, and he's just he's kind of more and more as we go throughout the film, becoming more cold, kind of pushing everyone away from him. He's kind of isolating himself, and it just becomes kind of completely overtaken by Christine in the end, and that kind of final scene really with him in the junkyard, kind of there with Christine, and them with the digger and stuff, trying to destroy Christine. That was a great sequence. It's quite interesting how we have that kind of play out there, and in the end, it's not the reactions I thought there would be from, for example, Dennis, but just there's so much going on there, and it's a very complex scene. Just everything involving Arnie in this film is so well thought out. I think even he has different clothing as we go throughout the film to kind of portray his character change, and his descent into more of a villain role, and he's got the makeup, the hairstyle, and the clothing, just everything in this film, and obviously Keith Gordon, his performance, he really transforms as we go throughout the film, and as the character kind of becomes more and more obsessed and cold and kind of ruthless, and isolated. Keith Gordon is just so in tune with his character, and I think the writing was stunning, and I think Dennis as well. Interactions between him and Dennis, John Stockwell. I think one of my favourite aspects of this film, is this theme of friendship, and I think it's not your typical one because it does turn sour, and even though throughout a lot of the film until really the final act, Dennis is kind of protected by you could say Arnie, and because he's his close friend, and it's almost as if Arnie is kind of trying to tempt Dennis into coming to his side, and he's kind of offering protection at times. It's implied at different moments in the film as well, very subtly, and elsewhere very overtly, and it's something that's done so well, but then in the end, obviously, he does even turn against Dennis, and Dennis has to do the right thing in that sense, and it does obviously end very tragic outcome, I think, but just the way it's done, and I think this theme of friendship throughout the film is one of my favourite aspects. Very complex, very layered, and at first very charming, and warm and uplifting, but it's just a really complex film that has a lot of tragic elements, and just the way it ends, it's very bold, I feel, and it's a great story by Stephen King, and I think the way this is brought to the screen, it's just so stunning for me, and it really is one of my favourite films of the 80s, one of the many masterpieces for me. Yes, I do consider this to be a masterpiece, and I think it's just an absolute classic of the genre, and watching this again about a week ago now, it was just perfect for the Halloween season, and I hadn't seen this during October before, and it was so great to see it again, and all the moments came back to me, and it's a real comfort rewatch, even though it is a very dark film, and quite shocking at times, and violent, and it's just so creative, this film, in the way the kills are done. Christine, the way kind of hunts down its prey, and I think just the way it kind of everything that Christine does has repercussions on Arnie, even though at times he's not responsible for this, and then it does in the end lead to him becoming Christine. Really, they're kind of, you can't really separate them, and when he's in the car, that is the moment when at the end, the junkyard, the final showdown, when really he's so far gone that he has really become Christine in that sense, and they're the same person. And throughout the film, just the way as well, for example, the bullies are hunted down, in the film, just it's so shocking. We have Dennis as well, his reaction, where it's obviously things are taken so far, even though obviously they were bullying him, just the way in which they are picked off, and we have these shocking killings, of Christine, and then the reactions from Arnie. He's really losing his way, in this film, and it's just so kind of, human the way it's done, but really shocking to see this kind of transformation, and as I say, the way it's done throughout this film, and the complexity to this, and I felt so much for this character, and all the supporting characters as well, and Robert's Blossom, in this film is great, and I think John Stockwell, really love this character, his performance, in this film, and Harry Dean Stanton as well, a real standout once again, just like everything he was in, really, he was just great, and it's just a character who, you think he could just be a small character at first, a detective coming in a bit later on in the film, but then he really takes over, makes it his own, and he's so memorable in this film, even though he's just mainly in the second half of it, and I think it could be more of just a standard supporting character in a lot of films. Harry Dean Stanton elevates this, and he's just so memorable, and being in the final scenes there, it's just great to see, and I love the closure of the film. I would say, compared to the rest of the film, the last 20 minutes is not my favourite, but it's just more of the nature of this, and the actual subject matter, and being a bit more tragic, and seeing obviously Arnie die there, and seeing the friends being separated and all this. It is a very tragic film, and I do just personally prefer the first two acts of the film, but the entire film is so well done. It's so visionary. This film, it's just the sense of direction, the timing with all the plot points, the beats in the narrative, and the way it just unfolds. It's done in such a masterful way that I'm just in awe of this film. It's once again the sense of wonder, the sense of danger and threat. Just as a horror film, and as a charming kind of comedy at times, and showing high school life, and just this relatable at first character of Arnie. I think this is just so stunning. So overall, my rating for this film is 100% plus, tier 3. So yeah, absolutely love this film, and as I've said, just from start to finish, it's just such an investing film. Even though the last 20 minutes or so are not, I prefer the rest of the film to this. It is just a film that I'm not for a second, less invested in, and I think the performances, the editing, the visuals to this film, the soundtrack, everything combines to create such a special film to me, and the way that obsession is explored in this film, and jealousy, and I think making Christine an actual character in itself, and really being given a personality, the way this is done. It could have been a film that doesn't really work at times, but it's so perfectly done. The way that Christine's portrayed in this, and one of the great villains, really, in cinema, and it's just a genius, this film. And I think Keith Gordon, John Stockwell as well, in particular, Harry Dean Stanton in this film. Just love these performances, and these characters, particularly obviously Dennis and Arnie. I think just the way their friendship is portrayed throughout the film, and just all of the stuff going on in the, in Arnie's home life, and just the interactions, at times. It's just some of my favourite, kind of stuff involving this, this kind of these, ideas, these themes, and just seeing the family life, and how Arnie's not too happy there, and his school as well. The bullying, the way that's done, it's just so complex, this film. There's loads going on, and it's got this, despite all that, a very clear narrative, so focused, laser focused, and just the character development in this film, and everything about this, and the way that as we go throughout the film, the narrative unfolds, and the obsession grows more and more, and we have Arnie kind of descending further, into this darkness, and we have all those around him kind of, realizing how much they care about him, his parents as well, kind of really asking for help for Dennis, and just Dennis as well, and Lee, and the way that they're kind of trying to help Arnie, and in the end they can't quite do that. They get rid of Christine for now, but yeah, they don't save Arnie, and it's just so tragic in that sense. But the way this is done, the direction from John Carpenter, the score from John Carpenter and Alan Howarth, and just the visuals and the whole kind of feeling of this, the atmosphere, and the sense of charm and nostalgia. It's just something else, and done in such a unique way. It's not just this. Self-charming, nostalgic film. It's specifically going back to the 50s with different points in the narrative, and through Christine, and it's also, in itself being a 70s, set film, and obviously the 80s as well, being made. It's just got all these kind of time periods that are kind of fused, and they create this real unique, experience, and a very human, complex film, and one that I absolutely love. I've seen it 3 times now, and this is just what a film this is. It means so much to me, and it's a real nostalgic film, and charming one. Really uplifting despite the dark, subject matter, and the outcome in the end is bittersweet, obviously, and just I think even though it's got dark elements and it's very tragic in the entire narrative at times, it's one of those films for me that is just very upbeat and jolly and just charming. Absolutely love this film. It'd be great to hear your thoughts on this. What do you think? It'd be really cool to discuss this film, your experiences with this in the comments, and how does it compare for you to different John Carpenter films, of course. I will be doing a ranking. I can't say when that will be, because that would be something I would love to do, on the channel. As I like to do rankings, being returning to them on the channel recently. And John Carpenter is a director I absolutely love, a filmmaker. He's made so many films that I adore. So it'd be great to eventually do a ranking. This film is very, very high. So it would be really, really great to discuss this film today, John Carpenter, of course, and celebrate the Halloween season. So yes, as always, take care and thanks for watching.